Tuesday is National Fentanyl Awareness Day, and it's extremely important because our country is experiencing a crisis, and Louisiana is experiencing a crisis just like everywhere else. Approximately 210 people a day are dying from overdoses, and many of those overdoses are fentanyl poisoning related. So fentanyl, there's two forms of fentanyl. One is pharmaceutical fentanyl, and it is a life-saving drug that is completely legitimate. What we're concerned about is synthetic fentanyl, illicit fentanyl. So illicit fentanyl, the precursors come from China. They go to Mexico. Typically, the cartels mix the drugs in Mexico, and then they come across our southern border into the United States. In Louisiana, we might have a little bit more of a problem than many other states because of our interstates. Our interstates are corridors, the drugs come up, and then they use I-10 and I-12 to spread across the country. So there are numerous efforts. We have legislative efforts all across the country to enhance penalties for people who distribute fentanyl. Certainly valiant efforts by law enforcement at all levels, from the DEA down to local law enforcement, are doing everything that they can to combat the problem. But here at Blue Cross, we've decided to do what we can do, and that's awareness. So Blue Cross is working with community partners like the Louisiana Department of Health and local police departments and even churches in our community to try to spread the word. Some of the events that we are doing include community drug forums. So we've had a few in the community out in the central area. The Central Police Department has helped us. We've been at 2 different churches, and we hope to continue those. We already have a few more planned, and we hope that the more people hear about these community drug forums at different places of worship in the community, that they will call us and say that they want to do one at their church as well. We strongly believe that the best way to combat this problem is education and awareness. As I mentioned, there are 210 people a day across the country dying of overdoses. So if you think about that in terms of it being a plane full of people crashing into a mountain and everyone on the plane perishes, if that was happening every day, if it happened on Monday and then on Tuesday morning another plane crashed and on Wednesday the same thing, that would be all that anyone was talking about. But it is happening. It's just not a plane crashing, it's deaths due to overdoses. So we need everybody talking about this. We need everyone involved. We need other partners in the community to join Blue Cross in this effort and get the word out. So Blue Cross last year developed a microsite on our Blue Cross website, and it's called Fentanyl Kills. And that site has 3 different videos. The first is a public service announcement, and the next 2 are personal stories of families in our community that have lost adult children to fentanyl poisonings. Our community, our country, is experiencing a crisis. We're not winning the war on drugs, we're losing the war on drugs. Every day, more and more people in our community and all across our entire country are dying from fentanyl poisonings.
Opioid addiction oftentimes starts with a legitimate prescription. So you had a knee surgery, you were in a car accident, you went to the hospital, you were prescribed pain medication to help you with that acute injury. And some people are just genetically predisposed to addiction more than others. And so just a couple of doses and then they can become addicted to the medication. So not always the case, but that can happen. Illicit fentanyl is a big deal right now because compared to other drugs that you can buy off the street, it's a lot cheaper.
The precursor chemicals are coming in from other countries. The groups mix the drugs, they create the fentanyl, and then it's brought across the border into the United States. Typically just a powder fentanyl form, but it can also come across the border as counterfeit pharmaceuticals.
Drug dealers can mix it with their other products to decrease the cost of that product and make more money off of it.
And so now we're seeing individuals die from fentanyl overdoses that have never been a fentanyl addict, have never been a heroin addict, have never even been an opioid addict. Their drug of choice was something like cocaine or methamphetamine or marijuana. And when they went to get their cocaine, methamphetamine, or marijuana, it was adulterated with fentanyl, and ultimately they had an overdose and died.
When fentanyl's involved, it's a whole different ballgame. So if you think about making a batch of cookies, so we're at home, we're gonna make a batch of chocolate chip cookies. It's kind of the same concept of somebody making a batch that they're going to press into pills. They have their batch of filler material, they add in the fentanyl, they mix it up, and then they push that material through a pill press with absolutely no regard for how much fentanyl is in each dose. One counterfeit pill may have no fentanyl at all. Another counterfeit pill may have just a tiny bit of fentanyl that someone who is used to taking opioids and has that level of tolerance, they might survive it. But that third pill may have the vast majority of the fentanyl in it. The body can't take it. They're going to die.
You might just end up with that bad batch, that one unlucky time. And all it takes is one hit of fentanyl, and it's over with.
The thing that I'm most noted for as a coroner is determining the cause and manner of someone's death. And most recently, in the past 10 years, I've been charged with investigating all of the deaths that are related to the opioid epidemic. Because it happens to folks in high school, because it happens to folks in college, beyond college, middle-aged, and even elderly folks, you really have to cast a wide net to really communicate what's happening and get those folks the help they need.
It can happen to anybody, right? It's not a certain demographic. It's not a certain age. It's not just teenagers. It's not just adults. It's everybody.
It can take anyone. It doesn't matter your status, how popular you are, you're rich or poor.
The crisis that we're experiencing right now is young people and old people and everyone in between. And it's death.
When you type a period in your phone, the same size that period is in your phone and a size of fentanyl is the same amount that can kill you. I done seen too many people go down the addiction road. It ain't gonna lead you nowhere good. It sticks with me, every time I think about falling into those ways. It's just not worth it. My grandfather, he passed away from a drug overdose, and it was a constant battle with him all the time. Every time we saw him, it was, him losing weight, he barely ate, and it really destroyed him slowly, and as much as he would say, man, I'm doing better, I'm about to get off of it, I'm about to leave it alone, it consumed him.
There's a concept with people who have substance use disorder called chasing the dragon. And basically it means that very first high is the best high that they'll ever experience in their entire lives. And they'll always be trying to get back to that great high, but they never get there. So the next time they use a little bit more, but they never get back to that great high. They never catch that dragon. They just get back to kind of a normal state. And then the next day, they have to use a little bit more, and so on and so on. And that's why the opioid epidemic is so terrible, because it just doesn't stop. The person can't stop.
And a lot of times people come in and out of their addiction. They get better, they're doing okay, and then something happens stressful or tragic in their life, and they go right back to it, which illustrates the power of opioids. It is not an easy road to travel, and oftentimes it's a very long road.
As my children get older, some of the things my husband and I talk about are like when they go to college, like, okay, you're going to go to a bar at some point in your life. I mean, it's probably a given, but don't take a drink from anybody else. I mean, you don't know what is going to be in that drink. And I think it's kind of the same thing with the fentanyl poisoning, right? Don't take anything from anybody else because you don't know what else is in it.
People just, buy drugs, give it to their friends, want to have fun, a good time. You get something, you don't know if it's laced or not. You take it, you could be fine, but you'd also end up in the hospital. It's like a domino effect. One person gets it, then passes it to the next, and passes it to the next. It just passes around, and everybody has access to it. But they don't know the dangers of it, because, addiction runs in my family. I've lost grandparents as well over it. So I know the dangers firsthand.
There's too much fentanyl on the streets in our community right now. You cannot take the chance. It's not about if, it's about when it's going to catch up to you, and fentanyl will.
The fentanyl will kill you. If you've never had it before and it's too much for your system to take, you will die as a result of it, and there's a period at the end of that sentence.
Every time you take an illicit drug, or every time you take a pharmaceutical substance that's not from a reputable pharmacy, you're taking a chance with your life. The answer is not just stop. We would love to say that. Oh, just stop. But someone who is caught up in the addiction to opioids probably can't just stop. They need professional help.
I wish we can just say, just quit, because it's not that easy. There's steps you have to take with this.
So what has to happen? What has to happen right now is that you have to intervene on their behalf.
There's a stigma in society, right? That, oh, you're a druggie, you're an addict, and all of these words that we're not supposed to use anymore, because it really is a condition. It's a chronic condition that should be treated like diabetes, hypertension, asthma. There's medications that are available to treat it. There's counseling, there's different programs. And so with the right help, then it can be treated and patients can live a normal life and be a part of society again like they once were.
If it's you, if you're the person who's caught up with a substance use disorder, you've got to ask for help.
Go to your mom, go to your counselor, go to whoever you feel comfortable with.
Someone will be able to help you.
Now, we've just recently added Spanish versions of all 3 videos, which has been fantastic. And then just recently, again, we've added posters. So we encourage the public to go to our microsite, view the videos, and then use them in their own community groups. We want them to print the posters. We want them to engage with us to find other opportunities to show the videos in the public.
Victoria McCulley was mine and my husband's oldest daughter. She was 29 years old. She was very close to me. She was very close to her brother, and she adored her baby sister.
Whenever I was younger, Victoria was the big sister that any little girl could ever want. She always would paint my nails whenever I wanted her to. We would always go in her room and watch Pretty Little Liars. I thought I was a big kid, just like her. She was definitely my best friend. When Victoria was 16 years old, she had a major mouth surgery.
After the medication, the recovery's done. Now she's back at school because she did homeschool during that period. And I later learned that within a couple of weeks, she was actually buying pain pills off the street from a friend.
There's been a lot of experimenting with drugs once you get to a certain age or a certain stage of life. Thinking, I'm just gonna have some weed, it's not gonna hurt me, I'm just gonna chill. But it could be laced with fentanyl.
She was 18 years old. She had no job. She had started smoking the synthetic marijuana. She was always looking for something to crave the addiction. That was the beginning of a lot of different counseling, rehab programs. Over the course of time, her addiction had escalated to heroin use.
My parents could never tell when she was messed up. Oh, I knew it from the second, just the way she walked, the way she talked, the way she held herself.
She got pregnant. We were going to take custody of her son and let her get the help that she needed. She just could not get herself together, and she could never find sobriety to the point that she needed in order to take custody back and raise him the way he deserved to be raised. We did not hear from her for a little period of time, and then she went to jail. It truly got to a point where our daughter being in jail was a peace of mind for our family.
Me and my mom were in her bathroom getting ready because we had a whole bunch of family over. And this random number kept blowing my mom's phone up and would not stop. And it was my sister calling from jail. She wanted my parents to come get her that night, and my mom was just a wreck.
She was very demanding. And I said, what I can do is I can love you and I can pray for you until the end of my days. And she hung up on me. Every morning, I checked the parish prison website, and when I saw that my daughter was still in jail, I went about my day. I was at peace. At the very least, she was okay. Or better than the alternative.
There's a concept with people who have substance use disorder called chasing the dragon. And basically it means that very first high is the best high that they'll ever experience in their entire lives. And they'll always be trying to get back to that great high, but they never get there. So the next time they use a little bit more, but they never get back to that great high. They never catch that dragon.
For Aiden's 8th birthday, Victoria was incarcerated. He was an 8-year-old kid that got a colored picture from his mother for his 8th birthday. Of course, he still has that. It's one of the very few things that Aiden has from his mother. She needed to come to my house. When she got here, she was worse than I had ever seen her. We knew that she had spun out of control. We could not allow her to live in our home. We had other children to protect. So we gave her an option, that option being that we would take her to a treatment facility or that we would let her use a phone to call a friend to come pick her up. She left walking in the rain. She was not ready at that moment to go to treatment. She was not in good shape.
We always start with recognizing the issue. And so whether that be recognizing it in ourselves, if we're the person that is addicted, or a family or friend or someone close to the person recognizing it in that person. Once we've recognized it, then attempts have to be made to get the person the help that they need. You have to understand that they have to want to get better as well. But until the person who has the addiction decides they want to get better, then we have the opportunity to make a pretty significant impact.
I, last summer, worked in a rehab facility. I had texted Victoria, hey, this is where I'm working. I have an opportunity to where I can help you. She was a little iffy about it. And then one day she finally texted me and she was like, hey, I think I'm ready.
She was not demanding. She was not manipulating. She was truly begging for help. She come in the house. I went through her things. And while she ate her cereal, she just cried. Never say anything, just tears. And I asked her, I said, Victoria, why are you crying? And she said, I'm so broken. I asked her, I said, Victoria, you scared? And she said, yes. So I said, what are you scared of? Rehab? She said, no, ma'am. I'm scared of reliving everything that I've put myself through. So I drove her to detox, and her daddy, my husband, met us there. She got out of the car. She said, I love y'all. And she walked in detox. We had great visits. We were spending quality time with our child. Not a drug, not a manipulator, no demands. It was a great month.
It was a Friday. I was coming home. I had a friend with me. We were coming to my house to get ready. We were gonna go to the game together.
And I walk in, and my husband's sitting at the end of the bar with his face in his hands. And when he looked up at me, I knew. He said, we lost her.
I dropped everything that I had in my arms and I just hit the ground.
I immediately grabbed my laptop and I typed in the parish prison. I said, she's incarcerated. Come to find out, she was not. She had been released 3 days before, and they found her in a hotel in Denham Springs where she had lost her battle.
Our community, our country is experiencing a crisis. We're losing the war on drugs. Every day, more and more people in our community and all across our entire country are dying from fentanyl poisonings.
It can happen to anybody. It's not a certain demographic. It's not a certain age. It's not just teenagers. It's not just adults. It's everybody.
And my concern moving forward is the more often this happens, how soon before 300 turns into 600 and then 600 turns into 1,200. We have a bad problem now that just becomes much, much worse.
The crisis that we're experiencing right now is young people and old people and everyone in between. And it's death.
What I would say to a struggling addict is, if you don't seek help, it will never get better. We couldn't let Victoria's addiction take everything we had, but we could still be available to get her help when she was asking for it.
If you're struggling with any drug usage, talk to somebody, get help.
Without a doubt, she knew she was playing with fire, as does everyone who is experimenting with drugs today. It's truly like playing Russian roulette.
What can the average person do?
So just in addition to reading the materials and viewing the materials that we already have out there, we want people to help us think of ways that we can get this out into the community. So if you think that you can get us into your high school, please reach out to us, or a church group, a community group, any group of people that gathers together that would be willing to listen to our message. We want to hear from you.
How can people get more information?
The easiest way to get more information is to go to our Blue Cross website. So that will be bcbsla.com/ and then the words too risky. And that will be our Fentanyl Kills website.